Welcome to MegaBucks Radio. Conversations with successful entrepreneurs, sharing their tips and strategies for success. Real-world ideas that can put MegaBucks in your bank account. Here's your host, Nina Hershberger.
Hello there, and welcome to today's show. My guest today is Ken Elshoff, and Ken lives in Iowa. I'm in Indiana, and Ken is in Iowa. This is November of 2020, and what we're going to talk about today is monetizing Facebook. With the pandemic and, some of the stuff even starting to lock down again, many of us are sitting around our computers, on our phones, and spending more and more time on Facebook and social media. So now is a perfect time to monetize. Let me give you a little background about Ken. Ken is a serial entrepreneur. He used to flip houses, rehab and flip those houses. I think, Ken, you've built online courses and you've monetized other Facebook groups. You even got a coaching group, I guess. Are you still coaching?
No, I am not coaching currently.
Well, welcome to today's show, Ken. I'm excited to talk about Facebook monetization. So tell me, let's get started. Let's go back in time. How did you get started in monetizing Facebook? And tell me about your group that you have or had or how it works.
Okay, first, I wanted to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this information, and I'm a big fan of yours, and I've been following you on Facebook, and you seem like a wonderful marketer, and that's why I'm taking the opportunity to hopefully provide a ton of value for you and your audience. So thanks for the opportunity, and I'm confident they'll love it. So with that, with that, I follow a gentleman online, an entrepreneur, and one of his key themes is whenever he creates a business, the first thing that he does is he creates a Facebook group to begin building an audience for that business. And I thought that was kind of peculiar at first, so I picked his brain on why he did it. And essentially, he's building up an audience, a captive audience for his specific business so that he can interact with his future customers. He can survey them, he can sell to them, he can get advice from them and take polls. He can do all sorts of things. So he's the one who taught me that whenever I get a business idea, one of the first things I need to do is start up a Facebook group and then worry about monetization later. The intent behind it is to, again, build up that audience so that you have someone to go to and get feedback from and actually solicit from them ideas on what they're willing to pay for. So what I've come to learn is, and I've built, I think at this point, 7 or 8 different Facebook groups for different businesses that I've had. And without a doubt, from now on, I will always build a Facebook group as I'm building a business because it's a free platform that gives you a captive audience. So I'm essentially following in the footsteps of an entrepreneur that paved the way for me, and I found that it's absolutely correct, and I encourage all of your listeners to do the same thing. It's a wonderful way to get started.
Let me ask you a question, though. There's a Facebook page, and there's your personal timeline, your page, and a group. I didn't hear you say do a page for each one of those. You said start a group. Can you talk to that just a little bit?
Yeah, that's correct. So when I first began, I was doing only groups. Okay, I just wanted to have a captive audience that would pull people in and that I could interact with. I could welcome them. I could ask them questions and field their questions. I did not in the very beginning create a Facebook page for my businesses. However, I will tell you, and one of the monetization tips that I have for you is from now on, I will build a group and also a complimentary Facebook page for the business. And the reason for that is because when you make a post on your Facebook business page, you can pay money to boost it and get it more exposure. You cannot do that inside of a group. Facebook doesn't let you do that in a group. So one of the best tips that I have for your audience is to build both a group and a complementary page. And this is a little ninja technique, by the way. I don't want to miss it since we're on the subject, but you can actually go onto your business page, go live, record a 2 or 3 minute video welcoming your audience into the group. And then when you stop that recording from your business page, you can take that link to that video and you can drop it into your group. Okay, so now you're sharing a video from the page into the group. And then you pin that welcome video at the top of your group. So anyone who comes to your group is going to watch that video welcoming them to the group. And the reason that you want to do that, Nina, is it allows you to then retarget your Facebook page business posts to anyone who has seen that video.
Okay. That leads me to another question then. Yeah, that does make sense. Now, a lot of us post most of our stuff on our personal timeline, which we can't boost, we can't do any ads onto. So, do you have a segregation? So is all business either in the group or the page, and then only personal, your friends, your family, whatever, on your individual page or individual timeline?
Yeah, that's correct. I have a group. I have my own personal Facebook page, and then I have, thirdly, a business Facebook page for just the business. And
okay.
I build and host the groups using my personal page, so that I'm coming across as more one-on-one, personable in that approach. So I don't try to use my business page to moderate the group.
That sounds complicated, Ken.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So I use my personal page to manage the group. That's where I was going with that.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. So let's start getting into more of the tips.
Certainly. Well, first, I did want to hit a couple of points, and that's the reason you want to build Facebook groups is that, first of all, people are very active in groups right now. Groups are big. They're a big deal. And Facebook did a huge study a couple of years ago and found that the number one reason why people return to the platform on Facebook is to interact in the groups that they belong to. So groups are big, and they're pushed by Facebook now. So it's a great time to be in these groups because Facebook has now begun more and more recommending groups to people. And you might know that from scrolling through your Facebook feed. Whenever you're on there on your personal page, Facebook will recommend, hey, you may want to join this group. And they're doing that because they realize that it keeps people coming back. So they're very active now. Also, keep in mind, because so many people are using Facebook now, that the Facebook icon is on their home screen of their cell phone, right? That's prime real estate. And that's why it's important to have a Facebook group, because it's an icon that people click on every time they visit their phone, and they're immediately pulled into Facebook where they can interact with your group. So Facebook groups are a big, big deal right now, and they're very popular, so I definitely recommend it. But beyond that, it allows you to build trust and interact with your members. One of the things that you can do is implement the 3 questions that you can put up front in order for people to join your group. One of those questions could be, hey, drop your email address here if you want more information or if you want to join our newsletter. And that allows you to actually harvest and begin building your email list just from the people that are joining your group because you're asking for their email up front. So that's a big, big tip that a lot of people need to be ensure that they're utilizing. But the first question essentially is, those are the reasons why I recommend the Facebook groups. And again, it's free. It's a free audience, so it's kind of a no-brainer on that front. Now, the number one question I get from folks who find out that I've grown a few, and one of them is over 100,000 members, is how do you grow it? So if you take Bob Smith, and Bob Smith starts a Facebook group tonight, how does he grow it? And some of the tips that I have for growing it right off the bat are, when you first begin a group, go ahead and actually, even before you have any members in it, make some posts. Make some posts in there with value. Add some content. Maybe upload some files, some useful files that your members are going to love. Because you want to populate the group with useful information as soon as people start pouring in, okay? So make sure you put useful info in there before you start adding folks. In the very beginning, I would recommend that you invite your friends and family or professional circle or existing customers into the group to get it started. Those are the first members, okay? I used to, in the beginning, I used to invite my family to join my Facebook groups, and then I told them, after a couple of months they can leave the group, but I just needed them in there to pad the numbers and make it look like it was populated with people. I went out looking for new members. So begin by inviting your friends, family, and your circle or current customers in there. You can ask any members who do join to invite their friends. That's a big one. That's referral marketing, essentially, right? You want people to pull in your ideal customers into the Facebook group so people can easily invite others. Some Facebook group owners I know actually incentivize their members and say, if you invite 10 people into this group, you can tag them in a post, and I will give you something for free, a free gift for inviting 10 members in and tagging them so I can see that you invited them. Another way to grow it is to
I want to go back to one more. You talk. I'm going to go back a little bit because I'm writing as fast as I can. It's perfect. The email. A question about the email. You said there was they can ask 3 questions, and one of them would be your email. Do you make that a required? Do they have to give you their email to get part of the group?
I have done both. I've made it required and I've made it optional, and I've found that I found that it's best to make it optional. Some people are very protective of their email address, and they don't want to give it to a stranger, especially somebody who owns a group that they've never even joined or seen the inside of. So I feel like if you try to make it mandatory for someone to drop their email address, you're going to have people back out or X out and not even try to join your group at all. So I don't want to create that barrier. I want to make it optional and give them the choice. And then once they come inside the group and I show them some value, and then I'm a knowledgeable guy, and they're gonna have fun in the group, I'll make random posts to the current members and say, hey, if you didn't submit your email address when you first joined, now that you've seen the value in here, here's a link to go ahead and join our email address now that you've checked us out a little bit. So I make it optional. Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. All right, sorry to interrupt, but before I lost that, I wanted to hear it. So,
Surely.
It makes sense to have a group, put value stuff in there before even anybody comes in. Ask your friends and family to join, and then a few months down the road they can go out. So keep going. I'm writing.
Okay. Another option would be if you have an existing business and you have an existing email list, list of email addresses from your current customers, you could send out an invitation email to all those people and invite and put a link in the email and say, I've created a new Facebook group. Here's the link. If you want to join, come on in. So you can actually, invite your current customers or past customers to join the group too if you have a list. Another way to grow it would be to join similar groups and become active and become known as a knowledgeable value sharer. You can post your link in other people's groups, inviting folks to join your group. Now, of course, you would never do that unless you had permission from that group's owner, which I have done in the past. I've been friendly. I've approached them. I've talked about the value that I'm adding. I've invited, and I've gotten permission from them to post my link in their group to recruit members to come to my group as well. And sometimes I've traded. I've had group owners let me post in their group, and then they come and post in my group, and we sort of cross-share members and allow each other to recruit from each other's groups. So that's another way of getting some members in there. One of the things that you can do as a group owner is tag all of your new members who join with a welcome post, a welcome to the group post where they're all automatically tagged. Facebook does that for you. And in that welcome post, you can invite them at that point to go ahead and invite 5 or 10 of their Facebook friends or colleagues or whatever type of people you think would be valuable to your group, so you can actively invite them to bring in new members.
Are you saying you can set up a standard welcome post that anytime anybody comes into and joins your group, Facebook will automatically show that post?
So Facebook has an option for group owners that says you've had 200 people, you've just approved 200 people to join your group. Click this button to welcome them, and when you click it, it creates a post for you to welcome them, but it automatically has all of them tagged in it. So Facebook sets it up for you to make that welcome post.
When you set up, do you always have to accept everybody that asks to be part of your group, or do you make that automatic?
You can make it automatic. You can pre-approve them. You can make it automatic, but I can tell you I never did that. I wanted people who were going to be friendly, who were going to follow the rules, and who were going to engage. And I did that by using the 3 questions that I put out up front when they try to join the group. So that way I could read their answers before I approved them. So I denied a lot of people access to my groups because they refused to answer the questions, and I don't want people to refuse to answer the questions. I want people who are going to be interactive.
Give me an example of some of the questions somebody might have.
They can be questions about following the rules. Do you agree to read and follow the rules and respect the rules? And then a question mark so that they can say yes or no. Or you might say something like, do you agree to not make any political posts or call other members names? Or you could say, do you agree to provide value and participate and interact in this group? I know some group owners that like to ask open-ended questions, so that way whoever joins the group has to actually put some thought into their answer and write up, 1 or 2 sentences, just so they know that it's not a bot account or a spammer account, because they can't make coherent sentences for the most part. And it's a good way of weeding them out and denying their request to come in. So you can focus on whether they'll follow the rules or whether they want to join your email list, or you could focus on personality. I joined a Facebook group one time, and they said you can't come into this group unless you make an attempt to write a haiku. And that was their entrance question. You had to try to write a haiku about a particular subject matter. And that was their way of screening out the spammers, because the spammers are not going to know how to do that. So it was a quick and easy way for them to determine who's going to be, an ideal member.
Wow. I don't even know what a haiku is.
Yeah, so me neither. I had to Google it. It's just sort of like a 3-lined poem that has X number of syllables in it. So I taught myself that in about 5 minutes and put together a really terrible haiku, and they let me in.
Oh, my. Okay, keep going.
Some other people actually advertise their Facebook groups on other social media platforms. So if you have an audience that's built somewhere else, like Twitter, for example, you can make a post there to invite people to your Facebook group. That's another way if you've got an audience somewhere else to pull them in. And I know some group owners have made posts and participated in discussions on Reddit, and they've invited people to join their group on their Reddit posts. So you can. Those are some ways. I think that's 7 or 8 different ways of getting started and inviting people in, and then hopefully the value that is in your group and that you continuously provide causes people to refer their friends. I found in my case, I built a Facebook group for military veterans, and I found that all military veterans like to pull in all of their military buddies into valuable groups. So as soon as I started my group, it for veterans, it exploded. I think I had 800 members within a week or two, because as soon as they came in and saw how the value I was providing, they invited all their military buddies. So it exponentially grew rapidly because of their network. So that's what I advise. That's why I encourage folks to have, value in there first, so that people can see it right away, and then they'll be tempted to invite their friends.
Wow, that makes perfect sense. Are you a veteran?
I am, yes.
Oh, thank you for your service. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
So we've got people in the group now. Let's go to. I know there's moderation and keeping track of all of that stuff. But I'm looking at the time, and we'll probably have to do another one, Ken. I think you've got so much information that would be very valuable. So let's talk. Let's jump to how. Okay, how many did you say you had in your veterans group? 100,000.
Yes, 100. I think it's up to 113,000 now.
So give a few tips on how do you monetize that? How do you make money from that group?
Okay. Well, in the very beginning, people were telling me that you could make money from Facebook groups, and I just didn't quite grasp it. But the reality is that Facebook groups are captive audiences, and for the most part, they can be an ideal target market. So you can make money from your Facebook group just as you would with any other customer list or prospect list that you might have. So one example would be charging a fee. Some people charge a membership fee to join a group. So you can actually monetize it and turn it into a membership. You can use websites like Gumroad.com, which is Gumroad.com. And you can use Gumroad to set up a sales page that will allow someone to submit their payment information, and then it bills them on a recurring basis. And once they make the first payment, you can allow them into the group, and then Gumroad bills them automatically, and you've got a paid Facebook group.
What if they can't stop paying? Does Gumroad, does it connect to Facebook? So does it know that if it, stops payment that it takes them out? No, so that's a manual process.
That's correct. It's manual. So you'll have to do an audit on a monthly basis, but you will get emails whenever a recurring charge does not go through. Gumroad will email you so that you can reach out to the person and rectify the situation, or remove them from the Facebook group if they no longer want to belong. So it's correct. You're correct. It's a third party. It's not connected to Facebook.
Okay. All right. So what would you sell this group? What did you sell in your veterans group?
So I monetized it. That's probably the $1 million question. Because I had a captive audience, I started surveying them on what they would be willing to pay for. So in the very beginning, I offered them coaching. Now, I specialized in resume writing and helping people get government jobs. So I offered coaching to the group and asked if they would pay for it. And that was kind of a bust, because I found that people were not joining the group for coaching. They were joining the group to self-educate. And so when I first offered coaching, it was a bust. Very few people bought. I think maybe 4 paid me for it. And I did coach them. I followed through with it, and I coached them and helped them get their resume in order and their interviewing skills and stuff like that. But most people didn't, and that was kind of heartbreaking. So I began surveying them on what they did need in order to be successful. And what came about was these people are driven, and they like to self-educate at their own pace. And so from those polls that I was posting in there and surveys that I was posting in the group, I found that they wanted an online course that would help hold their hand through the entire process at their own pace. And that was when I got the idea to create a course and sell that to the group members.
Okay, and so the beauty about this one is you owned the group. There's probably strategies as far as if you don't own the group, is that a way, or if for instance, let me give you an example. I moved into the house that we're in a couple of years ago. It's a brand new house we built, and when I sold our other house, because I sold it by owner, I knew I needed to stage the house, and so I staged it And one of the things I did was I staged my table. It's called tablescaping. And I got here, decorated the house. I love decorating. And then I thought, it's kind of fun doing that table. And slowly but surely, I've probably got 100 different plates of different things and goblets, and I have 21 sets of flatware and stuff. I tablescape my dining room table. I only need 4 of something. Well, then I found out there was a group. There's multiple groups, but one of them has about 35,000 people, incredibly active, of tablescapers. Now, obviously, I don't own that group. Could I start a tablescaping group? Yeah, I could. I guess mentally I think, why would they come to mine versus being part of one of these other ones? In fact, I think they're in multiple ones. But is it always good? So this is my question, Ken. Is it always good to really own the group as opposed to try to work with the owner of the Facebook group to try to monetize it?
Yes, yeah, in my opinion. That's your question really equates to, is it better to have your own customer list, or to rent someone else's? And I would argue that, it's far better to have your own because you have control of it. You can control the interaction and monetize as you best see fit. Whereas if you're trying to monetize it in someone else's group, you're going to have permission to do these things, and you're not in the end going to have full control over it. So I would definitely suggest starting one. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't create a complementary or non-competing type of group that's similar, but maybe not directly competing, and do a deal with that group owner to see if you can post in their group to recruit some folks. So if you want to utilize somebody else's group, you're going to have to get a bunch of permission and be respectful of their time and their attention and their audience, and not make any missteps or anything like that. So it's far better to have your own.
Well, I look at this tablescaping group with 35,000 people, and I'm in there a lot. I don't see any way that she's monetizing it. None. So the only thing I can think of is it must be an ego thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so I actually, I belonged to Facebook groups myself that were full of other group owners. And when the topic of monetization comes up, there are far more haters than there are supporters of it. Some people firmly believe to their core that you should not be trying to make money off of your Facebook members. They don't think it's right for whatever reason they have. There are a lot of people out there with a lot of groups that they will never, on purpose, by choice, never monetize because they don't want to. They feel it's a disservice to their group members. I can tell you that I know a lady who she started a Facebook group for nurses, registered nurses, and nurses from all around the world joined, and her membership skyrocketed to 600,000. And I can tell you that would be an extremely, extremely lucrative group to monetize. And she won't do it. She just simply doesn't agree with making money off of a Facebook group. So it's heartbreaking.
Wow, that's a great example. What do you think? Let's brainstorm a second here. What do you think she could What could she do if she thought she could? What would you do with that?
Well, what I would do is I think that I would ask myself, who is selling things to nurses? Because I have a captive audience of nurses here. So I would approach medical supply companies that send out magazines to nurses that sell stethoscopes. And I would ask those companies, hey, I've got a captive audience of nurses. Would you pay me a monthly fee to post an endorsement ad or an affiliate link from your company in my Facebook page or in my Facebook group so that I can direct customers to you, but I'll get paid for it? Another way you can monetize it if you're not going to do endorsement post, is the photograph the picture that sits at the top of a Facebook group is one of the few things that every single member sees. And I have done it myself where I went to a business and I said, hey, if you pay me a monthly fee, I will turn my group, the picture at the top of a group, into a billboard for your company, an advertisement for your company. And he paid me money to turn my group picture into his company logo, and the picture itself said, click here to learn more. And when you did, it opened up the photograph like it would on any other picture on Facebook. And there was a description of the picture that you can type into. In this case, we just typed his web address. So you click on the picture, and then you see his web address right there, and people could click on the banner, the picture at the top of the group, and then go right to his site, and he paid me money for everybody that bought through that link. So you can sell the billboard.
So not only did he pay you monthly just to have the billboard, but he also paid you for every sale that was made. Am I understanding that right?
Yep, that's correct. Yep. So, I had a monthly fee that was billed. In fact, I used Gumroad, and it billed him on a recurring basis for the rights to market in the group or for the billboard space, the picture. And then he tracked with an affiliate link the amount of money that was spent through that link, and then he gave me each month 10% of his sales there too. So yes, two different ways.
Man, I could see that. And 600,000? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's extremely lucrative. And I think there are a lot of different companies selling a lot of different things to nurses, whether it's professional insurance or medical equipment or scrubs or continuing education classes. There are a lot of different companies out there that are marketing to nurses that would pay money to have access to that group. And the owner, doesn't want to monetize it. And I think she could make a lot of money off that group, but some folks, they just reject it.
Oh. That would be a group worth buying. I wonder when
Correct.
I'm looking at the clock. We are going to have to do this again, Ken, because here's my next thought. When does she get tired of having a group of 600,000 and she just kind of, look, I just want to walk away? I mean, when does that happen? Maybe that's what we start the next radio podcast with. Are you willing? Can we do this again, Ken?
Yes, ma'am. I got a lot of talking points. I learned a lot, so I would definitely do another podcast with you, another interview.
Awesome. Well, we'll get it on the calendar. So, Ken, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, if they're fascinated with what you're saying and they would like to reach out, maybe you could, help them or point them in a direction, or maybe even have an online course, whatever. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, to be honest, I think here's what I'd like to do, Nina, is I think the best way to reach me is actually to email you. And if somebody emails you and they want to reach out to me, you can give them my email address, or you can forward their email to me, and I will reach out to them. That would be the best way.
Sounds good. Well, Ken, thank you so much for taking your time. I'm going to get you back on the calendar. We're going to keep going. And we're going to learn. I want to know how I can get that nurse's site for 600,000. That seems like that would be a really good one to, she's got to be tired of that by now. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I just checked on that nursing group actually about a month ago, and she's got a whole bunch of moderators helping her now. So I think they've probably alleviated her stress and burnout because she's got helpers now. But anyways, I'm deviating. So again, I appreciate your time, and I hope your listeners get a ton of value out of this and make some money.
Well, that's the whole name of the game. So thank you. This is Nina Hershberger, wishing that every single one of you would go out and start creating your group for your business. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to MegaBucks Radio with Nina Hershberger. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or to listen to past episodes, visit MegaBucksRadio.com.